with temperature rises and drops early on, and there's so much that you can see after ovulation of temperatures rising and dropping. But you really have to be OCD with the temperatures. Like, you have to get up at the exact time. You can't go to the loo. You can't have a glass of water. You take your temp exact same time, 7 days a week for usually about 3 months. But yeah, really, really good information from that. The counter aspect is it's taking away from your fertility, that it becomes a very kind of processed approach, which then is not great either. Ovulation predictor kits are, I would suggest, 80% accurate, in that they'll say you're ovulating within the next 24 hours, but then you'll have people who it says they're not ovulating and they have. And you can check that through your progesterone test. So by going to your GP 7 days after when you think you've ovulated, get your progesterone checked. If it's 0 to 5, you haven't ovulated. If it's 40 plus, you have a super ovulation cycle.
And I know myself, like I have talked to you before about Dutch testing, and I've used that cycle mapping test with Dutch as well, where you can do a urine test every day from day one of your first, like your period 1 to day 1 of your next period, and it tracks your estrogen, progesterone the whole way through the cycle, and it tells you if you're ovulating, when you're ovulating, and all those kind of things. But those two, I suppose, markers are only two of the markers that you'd look at in terms of fertility. And I know that there is some other markers that people come into you and they're worried about, things like their AMH or other readings, or they're not sure what FSH is or LH is, and they have all these reports. So could you explain some of those terminology?
So the basic ones you're going to get when you're trying for 12 to 18 months is initially the basic test of doing a day 3, which is your FSH, and then 7 days after ovulation, which is your progesterone. And then they'll throw an AMH in the middle as well. So basically FSH is kind of telling us how well your ovaries are responding to this hormone, physical stimulating hormone. And it's just literally a hormone that's telling your ovaries, we want you to release an egg, we want you to release an egg, we want you to release an egg, and egg is released. If it usually is under 10. So anything under 10 is pretty good. Sometimes that FSH is knocking on the door a little bit more, saying, we want you to ovulate, we want you to ovulate, and then you get to 12 and 13. Now, people really freak out about this very, very quickly. And it's an important marker, but it would be really important to go back the following month and just see how the other ovary is doing, because you need to look at your ovaries like a left and right hand. Like, I'm right-handed, but I eat like a left-handed person. So maybe your left ovary is not as strong as your right ovary, or not functioning as well. So you could have be trying for your second baby or your third baby, and then suddenly you get a surge in your FSH results and you're freaking out. You're going up to an IVF clinic, and it just changes everything. Best thing is pause, get another FSH done, see how that's going. If it's still elevated, then definitely AMH is important. And again, AMH is a indicator. It's a good indicator. But you have to remember, once you're ovulating, once you're menstruating, AMH is not about egg quality. It's not about ovarian reserve. It's based on what we call follicular recruitment, which is that 90 days that your eggs are released. So you could have two people where one lady has an AMH of 20 and the other lady has an AMH of 4. Now, immediately the person at 4 is freaking out. So that's one marker. Now, the lady with an AMH of 20 is, let's say, 42, and the lady with an AMH of 4 is 18. The lady with an AMH of 20 has no partner. The lady with an AMH of 4 has a partner. So you have to be very careful. It's all about the combinations of the numbers. And recently, you will now see a lot of IVF clinics and fertility clinics saying that, oh, your AMH is low, but when we actually did a scan, there's loads of eggs there. And this is happening 50% of the time. So you're getting this situation where people are getting very stressed, very freaked out, racing to a clinic, and it's causing a lot of anxiety. Like, I have a case there 2 years ago where I had 3 low AMHs come in within a week, and all were told that they had to do IVF. And we're on the floor, literally on the floor. This was in October, and by December, all 3 were pregnant naturally.
Wow.
There's no wow. They were ovulating, they were menstruating, sperm was getting to egg, eggs were being released, but it was the recruitment side of things. There's no indication of quality with AMH, and anyone that says quality and AMH are linked, show me the study. I'd be really excited to see that and read that.
But they could have so easily gone down the route of
they were planning.
IVF.
They were starting in January. The three of them were starting IVF in January, and like for me, a big part of it was to, get them back and say, come back. Hold on, you're at the cliff here. January, absolutely. Everything we do now is about preparing for the IVF, but you still need to start trying and having fun and not trying and just it was huge. Like they were all three within a week and all three pregnant by December.
So I suppose it'd be good to do a little recap of when to test and what to test for, if you don't mind. Like, so is there like certain windows you were saying there about day 3 and about, the week after ovulation for different things? So if you could maybe do a quick recap.
So FSH has to be done on day 3. I've had people coming in having their FSH done on day 5 because their day 3 was Saturday, or Sunday, they were busy Monday, and they went in at day 5. Like going in at day 5 for an FSH or day 1 for an FSH is like going into a maths exam on a Friday when it's actually French. You've got into the wrong exam. They're all speaking French. So it really is important to get these dates right. If you don't know when you're ovulating and you can't track it, then it's usually good to go in at day 18, maybe day 21 and day 24, and then see where the middle line is on that. You can ovulate day 14. The OPK says that you're not ovulating. You go in 7 days later, you have progesterone of 60. You have a super amount of ovulation going on there. You're loads of progesterone, everything's looking good. And then AMH can be done, from my understanding, at any time. Again, these are markers in time. They don't define your whole fertility. Elevated FSH, I've had FSH of 18, AMH of 1, get pregnant within 4 months. Now, we have to be careful. These are rare occasions that happens. Yeah. But that route was donor egg as far as they were concerned. But again, FSH of 18 is quite intense. But it turned out the following month she had an AMH or FSH of 10.
Okay.
So her left ovary was showing for some, no, I'm not saying it was the left or the right, but when we went back the following month, the FSH had dropped. The problem with, and I shouldn't say problem, the tagline is that your highest FSH is your normal FSH, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
That kind of says my lowest IQ is my lowest IQ.
and like with all those readings, it changes from period to period. So
changes from period to period, month to month. You like the reproductive system is so sensitive. Like you can hop on a plane, travel 3 time zones, and you would skip 2 cycles. You can start swimming for 3 months and your periods will stop. You can run a marathon and your follicular cycle will push out by 10 days. Like the system is so sensitive to change, but that's in a wonderful way. Yeah. It's not a negative thing.
So if it's sensitive to change one way, it can be sensitive to change the other way.
That would be the holistic approach, yeah. The medical approach might say, yeah, no, that's your highest, that's your highest. Do IVF, here we go. And I'm a huge fan of IVF, don't get me wrong. I love working with IVF clinics, and I think IVF is one of the most amazing things that has come out of reproductive medicine. But, you do need to do your due diligence. You do need to, and medical people are brilliant, but they take a medical view. You go to an accountant and they're taking a figures number. You go to a solicitor, it's legal. You go to a medical doctor, or it's medical. You go to an holistic therapist, a nutrition, an acupuncturist. We're looking at the whole body. We're not just looking at the AMH. We're looking at everything.
Perfect. And then there are lots of other indicators of health from a holistic point of view. And I know we've had a chat before briefly about, period blood, and I've seen a lot of posts about that online as well, about the significance of different colors of period blood.
It is so important. And again, this is just not knocking anybody down, but you speak to your doctor and they'll ask you about your period and you'll say it's normal, and they'll just put out normal. But if you've had a 1-day period for 5 years, it's normal to you. If you have a period for 6 days and it's just black blood, it's normal to you. The question is, tell me the length. We do need it between 3 and 5 days minimum. A 2-day bleed, a 1-day bleed is too scanty. It could be potentially affecting implantation. The quality of the blood needs to be almost as if you cut your hand. If it's brown, if it's dark red or if it's black, then there's an indication of an issue, a potential issue in there. There's an amazing doctor in Greece, Penny, and she has huge amounts of research done into the quality of the in utero blood and the importance of infection in utero, preventing an implantation from occurring. And some of her studies and work is just outstanding. So it's not just us making things up. You know, doctors around the world are actually going, 4 or 5 days of black blood. Okay, maybe that's why you're not getting pregnant.
Yeah, and I know like a lot of women put up with a lot of things as normal periods. So like a lot of PMS symptoms, a lot of pain, and we'll just kind of go, oh, well, that's how periods are supposed to be, because whenever somebody is depicted on TV as having a period, they're always doubled over in pain or angry or irritable or crying at puppies or something like that.
As a man, am I allowed to respond to that one?
You are.
Okay, this might get me into trouble now. Okay, how am I going to answer that? Okay, you know, and I know that that's not true. Okay, like I've had people come in with 12 days of PMS, of breast tenderness, bloatedness, just complete cycles all over the place. And we know we can fix that. We know nutrition is an amazing way of dealing with that. We know that acupuncture can help that. And I have 16 years of case studies to prove that. Like I have women and couples that have come in and, you know, they've had 4 sessions of acupuncture and their periods just arrive. And they're like freaking out, ringing their doctor going, I went for acupuncture for 4 sessions and I have no more PMS. I think he's after doing something wrong to me. They ring the doctor first and then they ring me, right? And I'm like, why did you ring me first? And all we're trying to let them know is that this is your body doing that's a hormonal thing. So hormone levels are shifting and changing. You know, changes of periods are blood issues. Changes of hormones will come true on your PMS aspect. But again, it's your body saying, I'm not happy. And you might have a 1-day issue. You might then have a 5-day issue, then a 10-day issue. It's your body saying, you know, you're not listening to me. I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And a lot of self-care can go a long way to helping this.
And you mentioned men as well. So you do have male clients who are coming into you for fertility reasons as well.
So 45% of all issues where couples can't get pregnant are down to men. And 95% of my patients are women. So that kind of shows you what the issue is. And men tend to get tested 2 to 3 years into the equation. And then we're like, oh yeah, the sperm is a little bit slow. Oh, the quality is not great. And I have never, and this is going to get me into trouble, and you can actually edit this if you want. I've never in 16 years had a male doctor tell a man he was infertile. But on a weekly basis, I've had doctors tell women that they're an issue, they're infertile, they've got problems. It just doesn't make sense to me. And when you tell a man it only takes 1, he's off the hook then. He's like, oh yeah, but sure, he told me it only takes 1. Statistically, I've had men that come into me that were told it only takes 1, and they would have a better chance of winning the lotto 3 weekends in a row than they would of helping someone to get pregnant. You can win the lotto 3 weekends in a row, hypothetically.
Yeah. And I find it like amazing that it's so low that, you know, it's predominantly put on women, and they'll go and do loads of research, and they'll quite often go to Dr. Google and try and find things and read books and make changes, or, you know, go down different roads, and the guys aren't following suit. They're not being tested.
Like I've had, even when they're tested, I would average a minimum of 2 men a month where I'm looking at their sperm numbers. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. But you can read it. It says it on their profile of their sperm. It just says you have sperm quality issues. You have count issues. You have motility issues. It says it on it underneath, and you would be suitable for IVF. And you would say, you do realize your partner's the problem? No, they said that, you know, they haven't told me he's a problem. And you're looking, and you actually have to read it out in front of them. And then we have to Google certain words because they're just such a long number of letters that you're trying to figure them out. And then they're sitting down going, my doctor didn't tell me that. They gave you the form, they showed you the form, but it wasn't explained to you that he was the issue.
Yeah. And I think that is the big problem of like not having the time to sit down and go through things in detail in the way that you can in the clinic, where you can actually go through results and help people to understand what's going on for them.
Yeah. And we get time. We and it's not that, like, we're both very, very busy, but we understand and appreciate that, we should all, not mantra, but one of my core values is that nobody should ever leave my room worse than they came in.
Yeah.
And whether that's physically, emotionally, like, that we get bad news, we have to move on, but help that person to get to that space where, okay, we have to do IVF. Let's get to that space where, yes, we are going to need some more support. But when you leave them out on their own, like most issues that I see anyway are flat tires. They're not broken engines. It's very fixable, but again, it's the unknown. Like, we're building a time machine inside the clinic at the moment, and I'm going to be able to show all my patients when they can be pregnant and what dates they're going to be pregnant. And I guarantee you, like, every single one of those will relax afterwards once they have a date. Once they're told you will be pregnant on this date, there's no more worry, because it's the unknown, it's the fear, it's that worry of, am I going to be the one that it doesn't happen for?
Yeah, and it's such an emotional issue. And it's so wrapped up in identity and so many different things. It's so complex that emotional support and that ability to even take time in acupuncture to relax for a little bit. And I know you advise couples to go and relax and enjoy each other's company and enjoy sex and not make it all about fertility.
Like, actually, I better state first, I'm not building a time machine, just in case someone comes in wanting to find out. I was just thinking, okay, let's just get that right first. But the thing to remember is that when it becomes there's two very different types, right? We're exhausted, we're tired, we're fatigued, we're working hard, we're doing loads of things, right? And you get a text message as a man going, I'm ovulating right now, my temperature's rising, you need to get home now, right? He's in the middle of a meeting, right? And he's freaking out. Or and that's going to be today, tomorrow, the day after, and it needs to be at 6 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah.
Or a little nudge in the morning going, I'm looking forward to seeing you later. And he's like, what? I'll tell you later. Very different approach.
Yeah.
And when it's a very process-driven approach to just the baby, it takes away from the passion, it takes away from the love. And it's so different. I would prefer a couple to have a glass of wine each, book themselves into a hotel and not think about having a baby, but just have loads of fun and laugh. You are 10 times more opportunity of getting pregnant because you're not trying.
Yeah. And you'll be a lot happier with your nice day in the hotel than you would be of like that kind of mechanical way of approaching things, I suppose.
Yeah, like, I've had women and men where men come in saying, Gordon, like, oh man, every time I get the text message, it freaks me out, man. And then you've got stage fright. And then he turns around and she is turned upside down with her legs up against the thing to try and keep everything in place, to do her meditation straight after sex. And then she's humming away and he's looking at her going, what's going on?
What happened?
That's an extreme, right? That has never happened, right? That's an extreme persona,
right? Yeah. Example, but I suppose women as well like feel that huge pressure as well, and they get asked a lot, especially after getting married, when are you going to have kids, or are you having kids, and people still haven't learned not to ask those kind of questions.
I have an answer for that, right? When they are asked that question, right, and they're at a wedding and the aunt comes up going, oh, you're married a year, your best answer is to say, Auntie, I'm actually ovulating right now, we're going to try later tonight. Right? She will never ask them again. Right? She will never ask them again. Fire back questions, but this does come up. Like, people do say, and just say to them, we're having loads of fun trying at the moment. Hopefully this time next year we'll have news.
Yeah.
People don't even want to hear you're having loads of fun trying because they're not having anything.
You're not having any fun. Okay, so coming back to like the tips and everything, is there any kind of information or tips that you just really wish the people who are trying to conceive knew?
Any tips? I think you know what? I think it's really important to get your bloods done early on. Like, we're a very reactive society in Ireland. We react to everything. We react to all of our problems. A lot of Scandinavian countries and European countries are very proactive with their health. So even if you're with somebody and you're not thinking of trying for 2 years, 3 years, just you're in a relationship, it's going somewhere, you're engaged, just get checked. Don't tell him to get checked. He's going to run so fast, right? Just you get checked. All right. We can check him later. But just get your FSH done, get your AMH done, get your progesterone done. Just see how overall things are going, and just do that every 2 years. And that'll give you an indication. I think once you're in a relationship and once you're trying, I think don't even worry about anything for the first 6 months. Don't compare yourself to your cousin's best friend's uncle who got pregnant the first night. It's, if you're on the pill, you need to give yourself 6 months for the body to reset itself. You spent like 20 years trying not to get pregnant, and now in 2 months you're trying to get pregnant. So give your body a chance to recover. It's not always about relaxing. I think relaxing may be a term people don't like to hear, because it's like they hear it from everyone. Oh, relax, you get pregnant. It's about recharging. It's about taking care of you. It's about bringing the best of you into an equation, because, healthy sperm, a healthy egg creates a healthy child. Crappy sperm, those are the ingredients you bring into the equation. So everything you can do for 3 or 4 months beforehand to improve everything improves everything. It doesn't make it worse.
And I suppose there is that big difference between the relaxing that is like a bottle of wine and a bag of chocolate and sitting in front of Netflix.
Do you know how many people get pregnant when they're drunk? Do you know how many people get pregnant when they're drunk, right? Seriously, right? Caffeine is not a contraceptive. I know nutritionists go on about caffeine, but 1 cup of coffee on a Friday with friends is not going to be, make you infertile.
No, it's not. And like everything is about balance as well, in nutrition, and like making sure that if you're having a cup of coffee, you're enjoying it, and it's something good that you enjoy, and it's not something passive that you're thrown into your body without thinking about. And the same with relaxation. I like active relaxation, things like going for massage, going for acupuncture, doing things you enjoy.
Listening to your nutritionist as well. She knows what she's talking about.
So that's brilliant. And like, I suppose for the you were talking about like if you're in a relationship, but if you're a single menstruating person and you have made the decision that in the next few years you want to have a child, then I assume the same advice applies.
Just get checked. If you're thinking of kids in the future and you haven't met anyone now, just get checked to see where you're at. And you could have super eggs, it could be everything is super, and you just get checked again in 2 years, get checked in 2 years. It's a proactive approach. It's not you being kind of, I don't even know what term you want to use, but it's a proactive approach to your fertility health. And at least when you do eventually decide, at least you know where you stand. You're not 6 months in and doctors are saying, oh, you need to wait, you're only 6 months trying. If you have something beforehand, you can kind of go, well, in the last 3 years, we've had, thyroid function issues, we've had ovulation issues, we've menstruation issues. You can go in with a big book and say, this needs to be resolved.
Right. And finally, you kind of mentioned that you were looking at different ways to help people, now that you've kind of dialed back the one-to-one. I know you've been working on the mindful IVF.
Yes, we've been working on mindful IVF for the last 2 years, and it's been amazing because we've been able to reach people all over the world. We've about 4,500-5,000 people a month using it now, and we are adding some pretty cool stuff on in the next few months. One in particular, well, education is one thing. We're going to be adding education in, and the second thing is fertility check, which is basically my brain on a computer, and then you answer certain questions, like a 6-7 page document, and then we're able to evaluate certain things that may be out of balance. Again, out of balance, not broken, and we'll be making suggestions then as to how you can improve those things to improve your chances of getting pregnant.
Brilliant. So that's Mindful IVF, and that's an app in the App Store.
The App Store and the Play Store, and we're online, and hopefully in the future you'll see lots more cool stuff happening on it. Very focused on helping people to be proactive.
And then in the Natural Clinic, they can go to the Natural Clinic website to book appointments with you.
They can't at the moment.
They have to plan a lot further in advance.
I'm sorry, but I have
to give you an email for the next available date.
Bottles of wine go really well towards getting